Hello, welcome back to Hunter Tune. Today I'm working on my 2016 Dodge Ram EcoDiesel half-ton pickup truck. And guys, I'm like this close to trading this truck in. Not because I don't like it, but because it's started to have what I'm calling the death flicker. Recently I've been driving the truck. I've had this truck for about 30,000 miles now. I've had it a little bit over 2 years, and the truck's been honestly probably the best truck I've ever owned. I've done the weight reduction mods to the exhaust, and I did the weight reduction mods to the recirculatory government pieces that are on the vehicle. I did the weight reduction on that, and I suggest that you guys do it too, because you'll probably end up with the same exact issue at some point with your 3-liter EcoDiesel engine. Like I was saying, this truck started recently doing the death flicker. I changed the oil. Ever since I got this truck, I've changed the oil religiously every 5,000 miles with Schaefer's 5W40. It's a very good quality oil, and I'm very good with keeping up on my maintenance, especially with my daily drivers. I want to keep them around for a really long time. So just trust me when I say that I change the oil very frequently. I had about 3,500 miles on my last oil change, and I came up to a stoplight one day, and the oil pressure gauge kind of did one of those, and it just flickered. And the message warning came up on the dash that said oil pressure low, and then it went away. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird, and I didn't think anything of it. I continued to drive the truck for the next couple days, and it kept doing it. Like, it kept doing it a little bit more frequently. So I'm like, okay, I'll change the oil, and I'm gonna pull the oil filter out. I pulled the oil filter out, and I peeled back all the papers. You know, folded it out like an accordion, the oil filter, and I saw no metal. Thankfully, I do not see any sort of bearing material or anything that would come from the inside of the engine, but there was a shit ton of just black sludge. So I was like, okay, I'll put a new filter in, I'll change the oil, and I did. Truck was great for, I think, 3 days. Today, I was driving up the highway, and it started doing the same thing, except this time, when it fell to low oil pressure, it stayed there. And if you guys don't know, on these trucks, they have what's called a lyometer, and it has an oil pressure gauge, a digital one, in the dash, and it reads your oil pressure. It's a crock of shit. It's not a real oil pressure reading. This truck doesn't even have an oil pressure gauge. It has an oil pressure switch, which looks like this. It's just a 1-wire 1/8-inch pipe thread switch. It's like the same stuff that we run on old Honda Civics from the 90s. All this thing does is tell you when the oil pressure gets to a certain point of danger. So I think on this it's like maybe 8 PSI or 5 PSI, something like that. If it sees less than that, it trips the light in the truck. So if I'm rolling down the highway, the lyometer tells me I got 40 pounds of oil pressure, and then all of a sudden it falls down to 0. And it made me think like, oh, maybe it's just an oil pressure sensor issue. Turns out I put a mechanical oil pressure gauge on, not an electronic one. I literally put a mechanical AutoZone one with the clear vinyl plastic hose. I put that on where the oil pressure switch is. And to my surprise, 0 fucking oil went through the tube up to the gauge. The gauge was still reading a little bit of pressure, but there was no oil actually going through the tube up to the gauge. The gauge was reading around 8 PSI to 10 PSI at idle. I revved the truck up to 3,000 RPM, and the oil pressure on that mechanical gauge actually fell. And when I was on the highway, I would roll into the throttle to pass somebody, and then the oil pressure would flicker. And I'm like, man, this doesn't make sense. Like, I don't care how fucked up the engine is, how bad the bearings are, etc. I don't care how bad they are. With RPM, the oil pump is spinning faster. It should make more oil pressure regardless of how bad the fucking bearings are. It should come up a little bit. Like, I'm saying even come up like 5 PSI. It didn't do that at all. It just fell. Because after me kind of thinking through some things, I'm like, man, it's like it's not sucking any oil up. So needless to say, I did an engine oil flush and I got so much sludge out of the oil pan on this thing, it was disgusting. And I changed the filter like 3 times since then and just packed full of sludge like almost every single time. So I was thinking, this thing's got to have some sort of pickup tube to get the oil from the oil pan. So I went another step and I pulled the oil pan, and this is what I found. All right, so all the forums and everything I'm reading online, nobody pulls the fucking oil pan off these trucks. Why? I don't know, because it honestly took me about 7 minutes to pull the oil pan completely off of the truck. So I pulled the oil pan, and this is the type of stuff that I've been flushing out. You can see all this like black sludge, goo, tar. This shit's just caked everywhere. It's not metal, believe it or not. This is all just EGR diesel soot, and it's all just sitting in the bottom of the oil pan, and it crumbles in your fingers. So this tells me that like the engine is probably still fine because I don't see any metal, and like I said, all this stuff just kind of crumbles. It's not something that's like stabbing me and cutting me in the finger like metal would. So like I said, I pulled the pan, and my drain plug was also completely packed full of sludge. And some people are like, oh yeah, that's just normal. That's how a diesel's supposed to be. You change a fucking oil and it's black. You pour a brand new oil in, the dipstick's still black. That's not normal. And because of the damn government regulating global warming, it's causing this type of shit to have guys like me that work hard for the damn truck to get screwed over by, you know, people that think they know what they're talking about when it comes to engines. And I don't think that's the case. An engine always wants clean oil, and this is a far cry from clean oil. And what happens after you do this for long enough, I'll show you what the pickup tube is looking like under the truck. And this explains why when I rev the truck up, no oil pressure is built. This is the first time I'm actually going to touch this pickup tube. Oh my God. I might need to stab some of this with a screwdriver. But this thing is completely plugged shut. And it's all just sludge. I might get a screwdriver to try to get some of this shit out of here. Wow. This is something, guys. Honestly, like I really hope I can save this engine and not have to replace it with a $10,000 replacement, which is what it costs to put an engine in these trucks. And they have a really bad reputation for blowing engines. I'm gonna get a screwdriver. We're gonna poke around at stuff. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. Oh wait, now we can see some passageways. Can you guys see those holes there that were completely blocked by fucking Al Gore here? Not Al Gore. Whatever. Fuck Biden. Too far?
Yeah,
Too far?
Yeah, maybe.
So I'm just scraping some of this shit out of here with a screwdriver. And we'll see if we can save an EcoDiesel from its doom. Should probably have at least fucking 50 pounds oil pressure now. Probably gonna have to spray this out with brake cleaner or something. All right, so I got kind of as far as I could with the screwdriver. Now I'm just taking some brake cleaner and I'm just practicing my aim. And I'm just douching the screen to clean out the screen. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Look how much cleaner that is. Much better. Much better. I hope this thing's got some oil pressure after this. All right, guys, so I just got my EcoDiesel oil pan back installed after cleaning the nasty sludge shit out of the pickup tube. And wouldn't you know it, the truck now has 60 pounds of oil pressure at idle, like it's supposed to. Granted, it's cold, but I put fresh oil in it, you know, and then just kind of RTV'd the oil pan back on. And it's really not that hard to pull the oil pan off of these trucks, guys. So I would highly suggest, if you guys have one of these trucks, you need to do this now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till the next day. Do it now if you want your truck to last. Because the oil pressure gauge that's in this truck is a complete bullshit lie. And all the crap that's on this thing for, you know, EPA regulations causes all this sludge and soot that builds up in the oil, and it really pisses me off. And like I said, guys, we're all hardworking guys out here trying to buy these trucks and enjoy them, and I love this truck. I really do. It's honestly my favorite truck I've ever owned, but the fact that all the other crap that's put on the outside of the motor to make it cleaner is causing the inside of the engine to be dirtier, which ends up costing you and me more money in the long run. Like I said, the engine replacement on this truck is like $10,000. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to put a motor in this truck because it doesn't look that fun to take out. So do this before it becomes an issue. And I could be speaking from negligence here because I really haven't ran the truck after this. So I don't know how long it's really going to last, but I know it's going to last a hell of a lot longer with a clean pickup tube, which is the main source of oil for the entire engine. And if it's completely packed full of shit, it's not going to work. And the engine's not going to last. So like I said, I just got the oil pan reinstalled and I just put some RTV. That's how they're sealed on here from the factory. It was kind of a pain in the ass to get the oil pan separated from the engine, but I just took a razor blade and hit it in with a hammer to kind of pry the oil pan off initially. But it's all back on. I got 10.5 quarts of oil back in it. And I still have my mechanical oil pressure gauge on. And as soon as I started the truck, I saw oil starting to shoot up the clear plastic line up to the gauge. And then as soon as the truck started running a little bit, the oil pressure just slowly started coming up to like 60. And then I revved it and it shot to like 70. Blipped the throttle and the oil pressure followed the RPM like it's supposed to. And like I said, before I did this, the oil pressure was like 10 at idle with new oil in it. It was at like 10 at idle. And when I would rev it, it would drop because the engine just couldn't suck any oil up. I don't know. It just pisses me off because, you know, yeah. I love this truck and I want it to last for a really long time to come. So there might be some more stuff that we do to this thing to get some more preventative maintenance done on it to try to keep the slut, or I wanted to say soot and sludge at the same time and it came out slut. We want to keep all the slut out of the engine. And we want to do that probably by replacing the intake manifold, which I believe is a recall on this truck because of all the soot buildup in the intake from the EGR and all the other shit. I think, like I said, I think it's a recall, so maybe I'll hit up the dealership. Maybe I'll just do it myself. I know they sell an aftermarket intake manifold for this truck that I might put on just to keep that, get the sludge out of there, because that's a lot of where it's coming from is through the intake. I think. I don't know how it's getting into the oil that way, but I'm sure it finds its way, some way, shape, or form. But that's gonna be it, guys. I'm so happy that I got this thing back up and going. And it has oil pressure again, because like I said, I love this truck. We drive it every day. You know, everything from groceries to hauling race cars, this truck does it, and it does it really well. And I'd kind of be lost without it. It's my honestly, it's my pride and joy, and it's my daily driver. I have a lot of other cars that I have for playing around with, but not something that I want to get into every day like this truck. This truck is just comfortable, and it's just awesome. And like I said, I'm extremely blessed to have this truck, but it pisses me off when you pay good money for stuff and it ends up doing shit like this with only 129,000 miles on it. And guys have had these kind of issues with even less mileage than this. So get out there, just a public service announcement, go clean your pickup tube on your EcoDiesel. And have a great night and a better tomorrow, guys. God bless, and keep your oil pressure nice and high. See you later.